Hi, this is Cool K and Countyfairgrounds.net out of Denver. I have Glenn Richardson, chainsaw carver extraordinaire, on the phone with me. Hello, Glenn. So you've been doing chainsaw carving for how long?
I've been doing chainsaw carving for, maybe 18 years now, but I've been doing the portraits. I came up with the idea of the portraits in 2016, and I was invited to go to a festival because I had the only pickup that could haul this organizer's trailer down to Florida from D.C., and he told me I could bring whatever art I wanted to bring, and I'd been wanting to try to live carve people's portraits with a chainsaw, and I figured since this is in Miami, nobody in Miami knows me, and if I'm going to try this is my opportunity where nobody knows me, so if I mess up, who cares? Except I was able to actually make it work, and people really enjoyed it and loved it. And I've carved more than 800 portraits since then. And I have been doing this mostly at Burning Man and Burning Man-like events where everybody is in every state of enjoyment and dress. And so I have carved people who were having a very difficult time sitting still and were staying warm despite the weather or because of the weather. And it's really taught me a lot about working with people and allowing people to be themselves.
Do you have another career? I mean, how did you get in? How did you really get started with this?
Oh, gosh. Well, I used to be a certified arborist as part of being a landscape architect. I grew up in the greenhouse business and ran away from that one summer to a theme park where I drew portraits for $1 a piece was my take on and I did caricatures for 55 cents a piece. And at 19 years old, I was able to support myself on that. So I went off and I went to art school thinking that was the ticket. And it's only back in 2016 that I sort of circled back around to this and put my ability to use a chainsaw to use with my ability to draw and my ability to capture someone's likeness into a plank of pine in about 17 minutes. Bald guys are closer to 15 minutes. And I wonder why. Where, someone with outrageous braids and dreads will take a bit longer. But, it's all about getting that person down and getting that person and understanding a bit of who that person is and communicating that through the wood to the audience and keeping the audience there to bear witness, because essentially I am celebrating someone that I've never met before. And I am giving myself over to their 17 minutes in what I call my chair of death. You're never so alive as when you're in the chair of death. And
Glenn, well, you must be pretty good with a chainsaw. How did you learn how to do the chainsaw stuff? I mean, how did you get started?
I am terrified of chainsaws. I mean, if you take this from an artistic point of view, if you want to conquer the thing that scares you the most, that's going to make your artwork all the more powerful. So this is a terrifying bit of equipment. I mean, I've seen what a chainsaw can do to a deer carcass, and that scares the heck out of me of what it could do to me.
So I would think so.
Having that great deal of respect for the chainsaw, and I'm putting someone in close proximity, asking some poor innocent individual to put themselves into close proximity to a chainsaw. So I have to honor that trust and do the best that I can to capture who they are.
Okay.
I used to write work orders for, take this tree down, limb this tree up, do this kind of pruning on that sort of tree. So I'm very familiar with the use of chainsaws. It's putting it in my own fingers and getting it to be responsive.
Okay, so what do you think is the biggest festival or fair that you've ever done? And do you book yourself for days in a row?
Oh yeah. Well, when I've done Burning Man, I mean that's an 80,000 person festival.
Oh.
Oh yes, and that's in extreme temperatures. So I've done Burning Man events that have been at 28 degrees Fahrenheit all night long, to Burning Man events where I was in dust storms and I was carving at 96 degrees. And everything in between. What the Norwegians say.
Are you making a living doing this now?
I am making a living. I'm not making much of a living, but I am making a living, and I'm trying to get this to broaden this out, to bring this more to the general public, because basically very few people who go to fairs have seen this before.
You know who you remind me of? I have to tell you. Not too long ago, I interviewed Dan Meyer, he swallows swords for a living. Have you seen him? I mean, that's who you remind me of. I mean, it's kind of wild what you do.
Oh well, yeah. What I do is very much on the edge, and it's really interesting how the different audiences react. And how the different people react. I've known full-grown men who never thought that they would ever amount to being turned into something that looks like it belongs on the side of a federal building, or it could be the face, or it could be the face on a coin, because it really does turn you into a monument. And I like to have this be very participatory, both for the audience and the person who sits there, because once we get this thing carved, we put it on what I call my altar of altering, where they stand on my right-hand side because I'm left-handed, and under the vast, infinite night sky, because I do this at night, which really differentiates myself from all the other chainsaw carvers, is I work at night, and I work at night alone. And I like to say, because that's when the spirit's out. That's when people, they're sort of entering this nether world. And so I like to start somebody carving them at sunset. So they start during the day and then they go into night in, the 17-minute time. And so you get into this dark zone, and then we set this portrait up, this carved portrait up on the stand, the altar of altering. And we subject it to a propane roofing torch. And we get this thing to glow with embers. And I like to say that's the spirit, that's the image of your spirit. That's your spark in the dark, your candle in the vast wind of time and space. So and then I'll put the torch in your hand, so you actually get to burn your face off, as you might say. So you're participating. You are actively burning this and doing this, and I stop before it gets too far. And then we take a wire brush to it and bring out the highlights and the charcoals. And I like to say that your image is reborn. You are resurrected. Hallelujah. And beautiful wood grain with charcoal shadows for you to take home as an artifact of your experience. Okay. So,
what are there festivals that you would like to do this at, or places you would like to do it at that you haven't had the opportunity?
Oh, I would like to do this at every place. I'd like to do this every place that people have faces. And I especially enjoy audiences that are open to new possibilities. There are a lot of friends I haven't met yet. And that's sort of my whole attitude with this. A lot of people that I haven't met. I've done this at at the Buffalo Chip at Sturgis, the Sturgis Bike Rally. I've done Burning Man, which is 80,000. I've done that 5 years.
Wow.
I've done there's this other festival called Love Burn down in Miami. I think I've done that one 7 years.
Okay. Who can I ask who's paying you? Who pays you? Does the festival pay you?
Pay me. The festival pay me, because this is like entertainment. This is like hiring a band. You know. I may have one person sitting in the chair, but I'll have 30, 40, 50, 100 people behind me watching. Mm-hmm. And I will instruct the audience, and this is interactive with the audience as well, because I tell them that your participation here is you're not just participating, you're witnessing. You're bearing witness to this person who's going through this life-changing event. And this is a life-changing event for people. I had one woman one year who said she'd really like this. She's lost 8 friends. Okay, great. So I get to talking with her. I find out she's from New Jersey. We know landmarks. We've shared friends over the years. And so I start to carve her. And the more I'm carving her, it looks like her, but it looks like a very not the most flattering and a rather upset version of herself. So once I'm done, I tell her I don't think I carved her as much as I carved her loss for her 8 friends. So I advise her. At Burning Man, they have 2 big party nights. There's Saturday night where they burn the temple. They burn the man, the image of the man. Woohoo, bring down the man. Then on Sunday night, they have the temple. And the temple is a large building where you bring all your loss, your remorse, your regret, all the bad stuff that happened to you. And they send up this building. They burn it. So you can say goodbye to all of your bad stuff. So I suggested she take this to the temple to say goodbye to her friends. And so she did. And we ran into each other on an internet bulletin board, and I relayed this story, and I got a lot of good feelings, but a certain amount of skepticism. And that woman chimed in, and she said, actually, that was very helpful to her to say goodbye to her friends that way. So you never know, as an artist, I never know what I'm going to facilitate in other people.
Are you a married man?
I'm divorced.
Oh, do you have kids?
I have one son.
What does he think of this?
He thinks I'm nuts.
We're all nuts here.
We're all nuts. Well, I've carved him, and I've carved my nephews. The family's not immune to my practice, but it's so much more than a photograph, in that you're actually capturing the light and shadows, and these things, the light moves as you walk around them. Mm-hmm. So they kind of come in and out of focus. It's a real interesting thing to, have on your office door or on the front of your desk. I know one guy put it on his boat. I know somebody else put it on the front of their vehicle.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Have you ever met anybody else that's doing this?
No, I have not. And I have attempted to teach it to a few other people, and it's not the easiest thing to learn.
Okay.
Okay. I've drawn thousands of portraits before I ever picked up a chainsaw. Mm. And most people who use a chainsaw are concerned about making a straight cut, where I'm all about making curves.
So you would say mostly all the people you've done, have you ever had any of them really get upset or complain?
No, I haven't. And I have carved more than a few what I like to call dingers that haven't been the that I've carved, and that's usually because I got distracted somehow or other. And they've all taken it with a grain of salt, because there always is some truth into what I try to carve.
Okay.
And it may not have necessarily been the truth that they were looking to seek. And that's what's another thing that I find so interesting, is you hand this to somebody and they're looking for themselves in a plank of wood. I mean, just to think about that, you're looking for yourself in a piece of wood. Normally people would think you're crazy for doing that. And it sounds strange, but they do look like the people, and they look like the people at the time they've carved it. And unfortunately, over the years that I've done this, we've lost a lot of the people that I've carved. And I've had, the kids.
So you've never met anybody else. Are you thinking about maybe you should show somebody else how to do it, so there's somebody else who can do it when you're not around?
If I can find somebody who's interested in doing that, yeah. And if I can find somebody with the patience to learn it. It took me a lot of practice, a lot of trial and error to figure out how, because for me it's a physical dance, because I'm moving all around this plank. I'm on my knees when I start off. I stand up, I sit down. It's learning how to do this dance, how to position your body so that you're controlling the chainsaw in as safe a manner as possible. I am directing all of the sawdust, or as much of the sawdust as possible, back onto me, which I can do, because I don't want sawdust flying into the eye of anybody who's sitting there, or them having to breathe that.
How old are you? I'm curious.
I'm 64.
Okay, so you're planning on doing this for a few more years, right?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. It's as long as I can pick up that saw and use it. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this question: do you bring all your own supplies then when you come to the event?
Oh, I have to. You can't, and that includes my wood, because I use a very specific species of pine. I use very specific dimensions of the wood to start with, and I don't want to get to a venue and have to be without anything. I like to be able to hit the floor running, and so I can just come in and set up and boom, within a couple of hours I'm carving.
Okay, so let's do this. I take it you're open to having people call you if they would like to book you?
Oh, absolutely. Or even call me just to talk. That's fine too.
Okay, so, are you interested in all the areas across the country or just a certain area?
I'm interested in all the areas across the country. It doesn't matter. I would prefer to, be kind of a snowbird, move north in the summer and south in the winter, especially since I do this after dark.
You sound spooky.
Yeah, I got to say, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, and Richmond is a spooky, spooky place. Edgar Allan Poe grew up there. Oh yeah, Richmond was burned during the American Revolution by Benedict Arnold. It was burned during the Civil War by Robert E. Lee. I grew up on a Civil War battlefield. I could show you where people died right outside my bedroom window.
That's creepy.
Oh yeah. Oh, it is, and I have that love of American history. In landscape architecture, they like to talk about the palimpsest of the landscape. And a palimpsest is an archaic word. It refers to a parchment that's been written on and erased and written on and erased and written on and erased, so that you can still see remnants of all of these different layers of writing. And none of them make complete sense and none of them work together, but they all took place over top of each other. which we see in the landscape, and I like to view that when I'm driving from one venue to the next.
Let's do this. Why don't you, if you want, you can leave a phone number and information as to how people can contact you. Would you do that?
Oh, sure. My phone number is 703-587-2355. My website is SawAddict.com. Can I give you my little infomercial? Maybe you could edit this out. I don't know.
Well, go ahead if you want.
Okay. We call what I do Ziggy Sawdust and the Chainsaws from Mars, where I invite kind and gentle persons such as yourself into my sawdust containment chamber, sit upon the chair of death for 17 minutes. Now, I know what you're thinking, but this is no ordinary chair of death. This is the chair of death Mark IV. It is 32% more comfortable than a previous chair of death, the chair of death Mark III. If you can find a more comfortable chair of death, I would buy it. However, if you have room for only one chair of death in your life, I would make it this one, but I digress. So while you're sitting on the aforementioned chair of death for 17 minutes, I shall reduce, as in to make smaller, a 2-inch thick by 14-inch wide by 24-inch tall plank of southern yellow pine, imported from the beautiful Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. For your artistic pleasure, this is imported. I shall reduce said plank of pine with a chainsaw to your visage. That's correct, your portrait with a chainsaw in 17 minutes. But wait, there is more. Then we remove this freshly hacked wooden doppelganger, this carved image of your very self, remove it from the jar horse where it was carved, placed outside the sawdust containment chamber onto the altar of altering, where you, kind person, stand on my right-hand side because, well, I'm left-handed. In my left hand, I possess a propane roofing torch. Under the vast, infinite night sky, in front of the assembled multitude, we subject your carved image to a bath of purifying flame emanating from this roofing torch, such that your image glows with embers in the night sky. You might say this is your spark in the dark, the essence of your very existence for all of these kind of people here to celebrate. But wait, there is more. If you're on appropriate condition, and only appropriate condition is appropriate, I'll place that roofing torch in your hand because, well, you are on this green earth to burn your face off, are you not? But wait, there's more. Then we take this charred, burnt-out husk that formerly resembled yourself, remove it from the altar of altar and place it back inside the sawdust containment chamber, and with a wire brush, remove the excess char. Your image is reborn. You are resurrected. Hallelujah! In beautiful wood grain with charcoal shadows for you to take home as an artifact of your experience. And,
okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, I like to pitch myself as a born-again snake oil salesman.
Okay, then you're the first one that I have ever interviewed that said that to me, and I've done a lot of interviews, dear.
Well, it's a fun place to be because, unlike a magician, I'm doing the opposite of a magic act. Because a magic act, it's all about fooling you. It's all about and enjoying fooling you. Where I'm giving this preposterous story, and then I'm going to pull it off. So,
okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's see what happens here. I will
sure.
Take a look at this interview that I did, and I'll make it sound really nice. And I think I will leave your pitch in, and you left a phone number and a way to contact you. Let's see what the public thinks of it because I got a lot of traffic, dear.
Okay, sounds great. Well, it's the oddball thing, that's for sure. It's really, and I'm having a hard time kind of fitting in a way, with finding the true home for where this really belongs. Because see, I can also see doing this at weddings to carve the bride and groom. And what I do is I dovetail their portraits and lock them together in kind of heart shape.
Mm-hmm.
So, and let them.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe, sure. Why not?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, Glenn. Let me post it. Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.